I already had an international career and I was working abroad, building experience, learning from some of the incredible people, and moving forward in my profession. So, why was I spending hours researching universities? Like, seriously, guys, like, why would someone who already has a career suddenly find himself comparing degree programs, reading scholarship requirements, and looking at university website late at night? Even though I thought it was strange at first because I was working internationally, because when most of the people think about university, they think about beginning of a career, right? And that's exactly why I wanted to talk about this video today. I hope this will help you because I think many of the people reach to a point in their lives where they start asking a difficult question. Not what job should I get, but what kind of future am I building here? Like, that's the question. And that started changing everything for me. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why I started looking at university despite already having an international career overseas. And more importantly, why this decision had very little to do with getting the degree itself. For a long time, my plan was very, very simple. Work hard, gain experience, learn as much as possible, keep improving, and eventually better opportunities would come to you. Honestly, I think that's a good advice still now, because for years that was exactly what I did, and I focused on building my skills. I focused on becoming a better at my profession, a better person. I focused on learning from every kitchen, every team, every challenge, and every opportunity that came to my way. And the results were real. Like, I can see those, like, I can feel it. I was able to work internationally. I gained valuable experience. I met talented people. I developed professionally, and every year it felt like I was moving forward. So from outside, everything looked fine. Actually, more than fine, I would say, you know, like things were working. But then something interesting started to happening. I began to paying closer attention to the people who were reaching position that I admired, not just in hospitality, not just in my industry, but across the board in different industry. People who seem to have more flexibility, more options, more opportunities available to them. And I noticed something. Many of them had both experience and education, not one or the other, both. Okay. So now this isn't a video about saying everyone needs a degree, like you have to get a degree. Okay. That's not the point. So the point is that when I started realizing there might be a difference between building a career and building options, at first I didn't think much about it, but my idea stayed in my mind. Okay. And the more I thought about it, the more important it became. Like, literally, because my experience already helped me to achieve a lot, and experience gave me practical skills. Experience helped me to get jobs. Experience taught me how the real world works in general, in the grand scheme of things. Experience gave me confidence, and I started to ask myself something, those questions that everyone should ask once in a while. What happened 5 years from now? What happened 10 years from now? What opportunity might exist in the future that I can't even see today? And would experience alone be enough to access all of them, to have options? The question stayed with me and I could not stop thinking about it. And eventually I decided to do something very simple. I started researching. Nothing dramatic, no big announcement, no major decision, just research, okay? So I started reading about universities, university program, about different countries, about scholarship, career pathways, leadership opportunities, future possibilities. And at first, I thought I was simply gathering information from everywhere I could. But something unexpected happened. The more I researched, the more my perspective began to change. And then I realized that I wasn't actually researching universities. I was researching possibilities. For those two are very different things, because when people hear a word university, they often imagine like classroom, exam, assignment, lectures, homework, but that's not what I was thinking at all. I was thinking about opportunity. I was thinking about getting access. I was thinking about long-term growth plan. I was thinking about how one decision today could create opportunities years into the future, That's when university stopped looking like a classroom and I started to look at it like a practical tool, a tool that could potentially help me to expand my future opportunities. Because once I started looking at it that way, so I stopped asking the question that do I need another qualification? And I started asking a much better question. Like, what doors could this open for me? Those questions led to a very, very different answers. One focused on credentials, the other focused on the possibilities. And I became obsessed with the possibilities. I started imagining different futures, like what if I wanted to move into leadership? What if I wanted to work in a different country? What if I wanted to enter in a completely different area or work industry? And what if I wanted the opportunities that I don't know even exist yet? Suddenly, education wasn't about proving anything. It wasn't about collecting certificates. It wasn't about also going back to like school because I wasn't successful. Remember, I was already working in the United States and Saudi Arabia. So it was about creating leverage. And that's the word that became very important to me is leverage. Doing something today that increases your opportunities tomorrow. The more I researched, the more I realized that this wasn't really a university decision. It was a future decision, okay? And that's when I developed a simple way of thinking about it. Whenever I looked at a program or an opportunity, I asked myself 4 questions. First, will this help me grow beyond my current ceiling that I'm having? Second, will this give me access to opportunities that I don't currently have? Number 3, will this save me time in the future? And number 4 is, will this expand my option instead of limiting them? And those questions became much more important than the degree itself because the degree wasn't the goal. The future was the goal. And then I had a realization that completely changed the way I thought about this entire situation. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is believing that changing direction means starting over. But those are not the same thing. Now, just because you choose a new path doesn't mean that you erase everything that you've already built previously. Think about that for a moment, okay? Every skill that you have learned, every challenge that you overcome, every lesson you gained, every years of experience, none of that disappears. It stays with you. You take it with you, which means education does not replace experience. It just builds on top of it. And that was the moment that everything clicked for me. And I realized I wasn't looking at universities because my career had failed. My career hadn't failed. In many ways, it had succeeded. It had succeeded enough to show me what was possible. It had succeeded enough to help me see the opportunities further down the road. And it had succeeded enough to make me ask bigger questions about my future. That's a very different perspective. I wasn't running away from my career. I was just trying to expand it, if that makes sense. I wasn't trying to become someone else. I was trying to become a better version of who I already was, right? And I think that's an important distinction because sometimes people assume that education is the only valuable at the beginning. I don't think that's true. Sometimes education becomes most valuable after you have gained experience. Because now you understand why you are pursuing it. Now you have context. Now you have purpose. Now you can connect what you are learning to the real world experience. And that's incredibly powerful. Because the biggest lesson I have learned from all of this is simple. Just because something is working today doesn't mean that you should stop preparing it for tomorrow. Growth does not always come from fixing problems. Sometimes growth comes from expanding possibilities, and that's exactly what this journey has been teaching me. A career gives you experience, okay? Not denying it. A career gives you income, stable income. A career helps you to build skills. But education sometimes gives you something different. That is options, my friend. And in a world that changes constantly, options are very, very, very valuable. Trust me, because options create flexibility. Options create opportunity, and most importantly, options create freedom. And that's why I started looking at universities, not because just I wanted to escape my career. Oh, no, 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 I don't want to do this or something. No, not because I wanted to start over. I thought that everything I had built is wrong. Also, no. I started looking because I wanted to expand what was possible. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Your current success doesn't have to be your final decision. Your current job doesn't have to define your entire future. And the fact that the things are going well doesn't mean that you should stop thinking bigger. Sometimes the smartest move is not choosing between experience and education. Sometimes the smartest move is, I think, find a way to combine them, right? Because when experience and education work together, they can create opportunities that neither could create alone. And that's the reason I found myself sitting late at night researching universities despite already having an international career. Not because I was confused, not because I was lost, but because I was finally thinking beyond my next job. Like I was thinking about the next decade. Thank you for watching. And if you ever found yourself wondering whether learning, studying, or investing in yourself, is it still worth it? After starting your career, I would love to hear from you. Take care, keep growing, and I will see you in the next video.